Well, settling for Isaac Paredes isn't totally a bad idea by the Boston Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate, and currently the host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's all free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show. Hope you had a great weekend of watching Patriots playoff football. They are advancing to the AFC Championship. It feels great to say that. Traveling to Denver this weekend. Looking forward to seeing that game. So exciting times for Boston sports. And while football starts to amp down, baseball is going to start to amp up. We are almost in February, which means spring training is right around the corner. I plan on being down at spring training at the end of February. So if anybody's planning on going, definitely let me know. And as the Red Sox prep to head down to Fort Myers for spring training, they also do need to make one more big impactful move to improve their roster prior to heading into the 2026 season. And that big move needs to be for a position player. Their starting rotation is going to be really good. I'm confident in the bullpen after what we saw from the pen in 2025. So from a pitching perspective, the Red Sox are in good shape. But to go along with pitching, in order to win baseball games, you also need to be able to hit. So the Red Sox need to go into 2026 with this mindset of being able to not only prevent a lot of runs, but also be able to score lots of runs. So on today's show, I'm going to be talking about a potential trade the Red Sox could make and who may be moved in that trade, as well as other infield options. So with looking at the Red Sox infield right now, Willson Contreras most likely going to be the guy who plays a lot of time at first base. Maybe the Red Sox give Casas some reps, although there is a possibility that they also have Casas start the season in AAA to get more reps there. So that's the first base situation. If they want Casas to start the season in the majors, then he'll probably split time with Contreras at first base. Then you go over to shortstop and you have Trevor Story there. But you have a question mark at second base and third base because you don't really know who's going to play those positions. Marcelo Mayer most likely will be occupying one of those positions. But the Red Sox really do need to get a solidified veteran infielder to add in either at second or third base. And a big name that's being floated around right now when it comes to the Boston Red Sox is Isaac Paredes of the Houston Astros, a third baseman who could come in and fill that role for Boston. Now, obviously, he's not Alex Bregman. We know that. He's not likely going to provide that same level of mentorship and leadership that Bregman would have provided to this Red Sox team, and also the experience that Bregman has. That's something that Paredes won't necessarily provide. But at this point now, with Bo Bichette having agreed to a deal with the Mets and him being a player I was potentially eyeing for Boston, he's now off the board too. So now the options aren't as plentiful, and most likely the Red Sox will be downgrading when it comes to the player that they add compared to what it could have been if they were to have been able to retain Bregman or sign Bo Bichette. But there are a lot of aspects of Isaac Paredes' game that I really do like. Obviously, Alex Bregman is a 3-time All-Star and brought a really special mix of intangibles and superstar caliber production to the team on a daily basis. So asking anybody to fill those shoes, even if they were to bring in a guy like Bo Bichette, that would have been really tough to do regardless. So we kind of knew after losing out on Alex Bregman that they weren't going to get somebody who was going to provide that level of value. But to say there aren't any options out there, we'd also be remiss to say that. Isaac Paredes is a two-time All-Star in his own right, soon to be 27 years old, and comes with 2 remaining years of team control via arbitration. He's also a legitimate power hitting threat. He hit 90 combined home runs over the past 4 years while posting an ISO above 200 in 3 of those campaigns. He's also really patient. He possesses an 11.1% career walk rate, and he isn't all too prone to whiffs, chases, or strikeouts. So that's a pretty advanced overall profile for someone who's just now entering his physical prime. And so to dive a little bit more into those numbers, he's in the 90th percentile in chase percentage and 89th percentile in whiff rate, also in the 74th percentile for K percentage and 83rd percentile for walk percentage. So the higher the number, the better it is. So essentially what that means is that he doesn't chase a lot, he doesn't whiff a lot, and he strikes out at a better rate than some other players, meaning that he just doesn't strike out as much, doesn't have a huge swing and miss problem. He's very much a contact-based hitter. And the fact that he's patient and takes his walks is also something that's really beneficial for a Red Sox lineup that does have a strikeout problem in general. We saw a lot of swings and misses and a lot of guys going down on strikes in 2025. So that's something that I'm hoping that improves. And bringing in a guy like Paredes, who's more patient at the plate, could help with that. Now, the downside to it is that he doesn't have a lot of raw power in terms of home run ability. He doesn't hit the ball very fast. Therefore, it's not going very far and not being hit super hard. So in average exit velocity, he's in just the 14th percentile. So that's a metric there where he's not going to be that huge home run hitter that you would have wanted. He hit 20 home runs in 2025, so obviously not terrible. I mean, that's a pretty good number, but we're not looking at a guy who's going to go in and hit 30-plus homers a season. He had 438 plate appearances in 2025 with 378 at-bats, scored 53 runs, had 96 hits, 0 stolen bases with a 254 batting average, 352 on base percentage, and 458 slugging with an 810 OPS. So obviously he's not this super glamorous hitter on paper, but he is a guy who could do very well on Fenway grass. So he doesn't hit the ball particularly hard, nor does he barrel the ball or square it up very frequently. His contact metrics and batted ball data are not great, which I explained basically just means that he doesn't have this huge ability to make an impact from a always hitting home runs type of standpoint. But he does get some power, and the question becomes, where exactly does that power come from? He has a lot of talent and ability when it comes to pulling the ball in the air. He does that better than maybe any other hitter in baseball. Now, what exactly does it mean to be a pull hitter and pulling the ball? So a pull hitter is a batter who consistently hits the ball to their pull side, meaning the side of the field that they bat from, to aim for power. So that essentially means that a right-handed hitter hits to left field and a left-handed batter hits to right field, often catching pitches early for increased bat speed and distance. So because he doesn't have that raw power to hit home runs, because he's a great pull hitter, he's able to find those gaps and hit the ball to those spots in the field to generate lots of doubles, which is great for Fenway Park. This strategy does favor power, but the downside to that is that it can make a hitter predictable, which for a while in the past would lead to defensive shifts. So people kind of know, okay, he's likely going to hit it here to the pull side. So in terms of timing, contacts the ball out in front of the plate before it passes the batter. So that also helps with the low swing and miss rate for him. And a hitter often focuses on middle or inside pitches in order to achieve this. So he could eat up pitches that are inside slightly off the plate. And essentially it helps to generate more power and potential for home runs and extra base hits. So that is a great asset of Paredes' game that he could bring to Boston. With his spray chart for 2025, meaning where he was primarily hitting the ball, he was hitting them all over the place, but primarily to that pull side. And he was able to generate a lot of doubles because of that. And we know that Fenway Park is a really double-friendly ballpark. So essentially, because of how Fenway is set up, he can pull the ball down the line as often as anyone else in the league. So while the Green Monster might shut down some of his hard hit balls, so it wouldn't be a home run, there is a huge possibility that he could lead the league in doubles if he plays for the Boston Red Sox. Bregman, for reference, ranked 37th in the league last year in pull air rate at a 24.4%. From 2022 to 24, while only 17.5% of batted balls that were pulled air balls, that subset was responsible for 66% of all home runs. So obviously, essentially, a hitter who excels in that category can hit home runs in a lot of ballparks. So Paredes ranked first in the league with a 38.5% pull air rate last year, 0.1% ahead of Cal Raleigh, who led the sport with 60 home runs last season. So that's a very promising stat. And for his career from 2020 to 25, Paredes' frequency of pulling the ball in the air at 32.2% is nearly double the league average in that time of 16.7%. So it's not unreasonable to imagine him being a huge doubles king at Fenway. So that is a great skill and a great metric to be able to utilize to measure how successful Paredes would be in a Boston Red Sox uniform. Is he that huge home run heavy hitter that the Red Sox have been coveting this offseason? No. But if he can provide hard contact and can hit singles and doubles, that's the type of hitter that the Red Sox could utilize when it comes to manufacturing runs. And he also doesn't strike out a lot, so we can hope for quality at bat. So would I be down for a trade for Isaac Paredes? Yes. But it also depends on who could be moved in the trade, and I'm going to be discussing that next. With the NFL playoffs being really close to concluding, this is the best time to sign up for FanDuel because every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Open your Profit Boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to play. There will be multiple ones that you can choose from. You make your picks, then apply your Profit Boost to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your Profit Boost pack every NFL playoff game day. It's a great way to make lots of money, so make sure that you check it out. With spring training right around the corner, word is buzzing about who the Red Sox are going to land as an infielder, because there's no doubt about the fact that they do need to acquire another strong hitter to hit in their lineup going into the 2026 season. And at this point, it likely isn't going to be someone who's going to produce a lot of raw home run power, but rather somebody who can hit for contact and can get on base, can generate doubles, and get into scoring position quickly. And that's something that Isaac Paredes of the Astros kind of fits the mold for. The Red Sox and Astros have been in discussion about a trade and things are progressing. And the Astros need an outfielder. So when you look at this trade and what could become of it, the Red Sox value Jarren Duran very highly. And Craig Breslow said going into this offseason that he was comfortable keeping all of his outfielders. So therefore, what that means is that it would take a big trade and an offer that he feels satisfied with in order for Duran to actually be moved, because they value him at a level to where they felt like they should have gotten a high-end starting pitcher in return. Teams don't necessarily feel that way or feel like he's worth that. So teams were hesitant to make a trade with the Red Sox for him because they weren't prepared to give up their big name starting pitchers per se. But if the Red Sox were to trade Duran to the Astros for Paredes, the Astros would have to give up more. But Jarren Duran is somebody that the Red Sox could afford to move right now because of the fact that their outfield situation with where it's at does have an overflow, and they could afford to lose one of those guys. Now, the downside to losing Duran is that he has the potential to be a really insane talent. Going back to 2024, when he put up a really strong offensive season, he then went and struggled in 2025, but who's to say he won't get back to that same level of productivity offensively in 2026? He might have just had a down year offensively in 2025, but he provides a lot of value from a base running standpoint and his speed, and he is a sound defender. He can play center field very well, which obviously the Red Sox have Cedar Rafaela occupying that position right now, but he is a sound defender who provides a lot of longer term value, because you do have to think about the short and the long term. And if the Red Sox are giving up Jarren Duran, they're giving up a guy who can provide a lot of value down the road, more so than maybe some other players, because he's multi-skilled and can do a lot of different things. And while his offensive numbers may not have been where we needed them to be in 2025, he still provided a lot of value in other areas. And that's why having a guy like Duran on the team is beneficial. And that's part of why it would take a good enough return in order for Craig Breslow and the Red Sox to justify moving on from a guy like Duran. Now, what potentially could a trade look like? So as far as packages going back and forth, if the main pieces in the trade are Isaac Paredes for Jarren Duran, there are other players who are going to have to be included in that. Astros center fielder Jake Meyers and starting pitcher Spencer Arrighetti are names that have been mentioned as being connected to this trade. Now, Brayan Bello is another potential possibility, because Bello is a guy, obviously, who the Red Sox have been really excited about. They've liked a lot of aspects of his game over the last few seasons. But the reason Brayan Bello's name is being brought up is because it's not far-fetched to feel like they could trade him. The Red Sox now have an overflow of starting pitchers on this roster, and there simply just isn't enough opportunity to go around for all of them. So the Red Sox are already in a situation now where they have to try to figure out where all these guys are going to play and what opportunity they're going to have on this team. So feeling like they might move one of them is a really reasonable thing to feel. And that guy could be him, because they now have a lot of starting pitching. They traded for Johan Oviedo this offseason. Do they see him as an upgrade from Brayan Bello? Do they slot him into Brayan Bello's spot in the rotation? That's a question that's worth asking. Do they trade a guy like Patrick Sandoval, who has been hurt and hasn't gotten to play yet in a Boston Red Sox uniform, but is a guy that the Red Sox brought here in hopes that he could be a weapon for this team on the pitching staff? So lots of questions to be answered. And the biggest thing is, if the Red Sox do want to trade Brayan Bello, I don't see Jarren Duran also being included in the trade, especially if Paredes is the main player coming over. Then the Red Sox shouldn't have to give up more than one player. And it's just a matter of which of those two players do the Astros feel like they would benefit more from. And likely the answer would be Jarren Duran. So the Red Sox likely would only have to move one of those guys, but Paredes and more would have to come to the Boston Red Sox in that type of trade. Keep in mind that all of this is rumors, and take rumors with a grain of salt. But with the Red Sox clearly looking for a third baseman and the Astros looking for a left-handed hitting outfielder, it does make a lot of sense that the framework for a trade discussing Paredes and Duran primarily makes a lot of sense. A trade of Jake Meyers from the Astros, if he were to come over, would make Zach Cole the favorite to be the everyday starting center fielder for the Astros, with Jarren Duran in left field. And then they have Cam Smith and Jesus Sanchez splitting time in right field. The thing for the Red Sox, though, would be there wouldn't really be somewhere for Jake Meyers to play if he were to come over to the Boston Red Sox. So it doesn't necessarily make sense that they would try to pursue an outfielder in this trade when they're already confident in the outfield that they have, and they have said they're confident in that outfield. So that one may not necessarily play. Starting pitcher Spencer Arrighetti, The Red Sox don't really need pitching right now, but Craig Breslow is a pitching guy, and he's just obsessed with continuing to grow the pitching staff. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do go after starting pitching in this type of trade. And then if the Astros trade Paredes, that would solidify Christian Walker as the Astros starting first baseman and Jose Altuve as the starting second baseman, which would clear their infield logjam. So it does make a lot of sense for Paredes to be a guy that we see in a Boston Red Sox uniform. And then Bello going over to the Astros would also make sense because it would make him their fourth starter behind Hunter Brown, Christian Javier, and Tatsuya Ime. And then essentially for the Red Sox, what it would look like is they're slotting in Paredes at third base. And then the Red Sox infield would look like a combination potentially of Tristan Casas and Wilson Contreras at first. And then at second base to start the season would be Marcelo Mayer. Third base, Trevor Story, or shortstop, Trevor Story rather. And third base would be Paredes. So that is what you would essentially be looking like for the infield. Is it the most competitive infield in baseball? Not even close. But is it a serviceable infield that can provide value? Yes. The other thing about Paredes is that he's not as strong of a defender as a guy like Alex Bregman is. So that's definitely another downfall to bringing in him versus landing Bregman back, is that there definitely would be a defensive concern a little bit more. But that's a serviceable infield. You have guys that can hit for contact. Wilson Contreras is a guy who the Red Sox are excited about going into this season, hoping that he can be a guy who can contribute a lot on the offensive side of the ball. And then if they were to trade for Paredes, he would be the starting third baseman. And then if the Astros send over a couple other pieces in that trade, pieces that appeal to the Red Sox, there then would be a question of where those guys would play. But the Red Sox goal going into this, if they were to make this type of trade, should be to focus primarily on making sure they are getting the value that they feel Jarren Duran is worth. And it's not going to be a 1-for-1 trade. Paredes plus more is what I would anticipate the Red Sox would be getting back in return if they were to move on from Jarren Duran or even from Brayan Bello. If he were to be the main piece in the trade, then it would increase the number of players that the Astros would have to send back, because Isaac Paredes, from a talent standpoint and what he provides, definitely does not equal Jarren Duran from a one-on-one situation to make it equal. So I would be interested in seeing how that all plays out, but I am pretty confident in saying that I do feel like either Jarren Duran or Brayan Bello would be the main piece from the Red Sox going back to the Astros in return. And then the Red Sox would get Isaac Paredes plus one or two other players, maybe potentially from the players that I threw out there already, or from prospects that are high on the Red Sox list that they are really intrigued by. But either way, I feel like a trade could be likely because of the fact that they like the fact that Paredes is on the younger side, still in his 20s, still under team control for a couple seasons. So the Red Sox won't feel like they're trading for somebody who could walk in free agency after a season. Those are the types of players that really appeal to the Red Sox. And they know that they have a logjam when it comes to the outfield and the starting pitching. So them being open to moving somebody from one of those positions definitely is a possibility. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But if the Red Sox don't make a trade for Isaac Paredes, who are some other infield options that they could pursue? Don't forget to subscribe to the show and continue to tune in to Locked On Red Sox every single day. Thank you for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, you can check out our Everydayer Club. What I find really cool about this is there are a ton of perks. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for this show, compatible with any podcast platform, and an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. And if you want to take it up a notch even further and get even more exclusive content, subscribe to the All Access tier. And in that, you would essentially get everything I just mentioned before with the ad-free audio feed in the Discord channel, but you would also get one-on-one texting with me directly to get all of your Red Sox related questions answered. So you can feel like you're a little bit of an insider based on the information I'm telling you. And you also get all access episodes of this show that you won't find anywhere else. For example, last week I had 2004 World Series champion Doug Mankiewicz on the show, where he talked all about that special run in 2004. And half of it you could listen to on the regular show's feed, but the other half you need to subscribe to the all access tier to be able to hear it. So if you're subscribed to that, you'll hear any and all of my all access content during the season when I get interviews with players, coaches, etc. You definitely won't want to miss out on those. So if any of that sounds appealing to you, and I promise I will make it fun, head to the link www.lockedonredsox.supercast.com and you can subscribe there. The link is also in the YouTube video for those on YouTube. So make sure that you subscribe to that next. Well, the offseason is almost over. It always flies by, even though it feels like it drags, because it feels like moves come so sporadically and spread apart, and it doesn't leave for all kinds of excitement all the time. But I am super excited for baseball season to get underway. I'm excited for spring training. I'm excited to see how these Red Sox players come back after the offseason. I've seen videos of Masataka Yoshida working out. He's really ready to go for this season. But they definitely do need to add another bat to their lineup. And while Isaac Paredes is an option, there are other infield options that they could pursue. It doesn't necessarily have to be Paredes. Now, another name that I know the Red Sox are really intrigued by is free agent Eugenio Suárez, a third baseman. He feels like somebody who could be a serious option on a short-term deal, because he is still a free agent. So if the Red Sox at this point aren't interested in making a trade, they could go this route. They have viewed him as a fallback option this offseason. So while they tried to re-sign Bregman, the potential pursuit of him obviously ended up on the back burner. But if they were able to land the 34-year-old, he's a right-handed hitter who would likely slot in at third base and instantly become the team's top power bat, because he did hit 49 homers this past season, which were the 5th most in baseball. And he's also hit at least 30 homers in 6 of the last 7 seasons, with the 2020 season excluded. But again, who really counts that fully as a season? So this is somebody who, if they really are yearning for that power, he's somebody who can provide that. But he is a bit of a boom or bust at the plate, for lack of a better way to describe it. He logged a .228 batting average between his stints with the Diamondbacks and Mariners in 2025, and he's hit below .250 in all but one season since 2020. So if you compare him to Paredes, Paredes is a little bit more of a consistently strong hitter. You're not necessarily going to get that as much from Suárez, but he would give the Red Sox's lineup some much needed pop with that home run ability and alleviate some pressure off of Roman Anthony. So he could be a guy who signs maybe a 2 or 3 year deal with the Red Sox, so that we could see how that plays out. Nico Hoerner, a second baseman from the Cubs, is also an option. After Chicago's decision to sign Alex Bregman, maybe they would be more likely to move Hoerner. They do have a bit of an infield glute right now in terms of the fact that there's a bit of an overflow there, not really knowing who's going to play where, with the potential that Hoerner could be the odd man out, as he's only under team control for one more season. He's become the focus of some trade rumors since the Bregman signing anyway. And Cubs president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, also didn't completely shut down the possibility of trading him when he spoke with reporters last week. He's 28 years old and doesn't have the power Suárez has, failing to hit more than 10 home runs in a single season, but he's a much more well-rounded player, which is something that definitely appeals to the Red Sox. His .297 batting average this past season was the 4th time in his career that he's hit at least .280. He also logged 29 stolen bases in 2025, which was actually the fewest he's had since 2022. He had 43 stolen bases in 2023 and 31 in 2024. So if they're looking for a versatile player who could provide a lot of different things, Hoerner could be a guy that could fill those shoes. But if they're looking for somebody more who they want to get that raw power ability from, they might lean more towards Suárez. Also, because of the fact that Hoerner's only under team control for one more season, they might be more hesitant to trade for him at this point. He can also get extra base hits, logging at least 25 doubles in each of the last 3 seasons. And just as importantly, he's one of the best fielding second basemen in the league. He's won a Gold Glove in 2 of the last 3 seasons with his 15 outs above average, ranking 12th in all of baseball last year. So if the Red Sox are a little bit concerned about the infield defense, that's something that could draw them to a guy like Hoerner, but may not be the choice. Then there's also a general trade with the Mets that could be worth looking into, because similar to the Cubs after the Bregman deal, the Mets addition of Bo Bichette has created a big of a logjam in the infield too, with Bichette, Francisco Lindor, Marcus Semien, and Jorge Polanco likely being their everyday starters in the infield, leaving young players like Brett Baty, Mark Vientos, and Louis Angel Acuna in flux. So you have to kind of wonder what that could mean in terms of a trade and moving forward. Brett Baty is an interesting player to me, somebody that the Red Sox could be intrigued by. On top of that, and the Red Sox, while they need an infielder, the Mets have a clear need for outfield help as they lack established outfield production outside of Juan Soto. So the Red Sox and Mets might be natural trade partners, as Boston's yet to trade from that outfield influx. And the Mets, I'm sure, will give the Red Sox a call. Baty and Vientos are probably the more natural options for the Red Sox out of those players I listed who could be the odd men out for the Mets. Both of them are 26 years old and split third base duty for the Mets last season, with Baty doubling as a second baseman and Vientos occasionally being New York's DH. Baty would give the Red Sox another left-handed hitter, which obviously isn't ideal. They really should be pursuing a right-handed hitter at this point. But he hit .254 with 18 homers and a .748 OPS over 130 games last season. And he's also an above average fielder, ranking in the 70th percentile among all fielders in outs above average. Vientos, on the other hand, is a right-handed hitter with some pop. He had 27 homers in 2024 before hitting 17 homers in 121 games last season. He's also logged a .250 batting average and a .769 OPS over the last 2 seasons. But Vientos is not a good fielder. He's a -7 outs above average. So that was among the worst in baseball last season. And the Red Sox do value fielding, so that could hold them back for making a trade for him. Both Baty and Vientos are free agents through the end of the decade, so the Mets don't necessarily need to get rid of them by any means. But trading either one of them for Jarren Duran or another one of the Red Sox's outfielders feels like it makes sense for both sides. So that is another route that the Red Sox could go, but I'm thinking the more likely options right now are either Suárez or Paredes. So we'll have to see how this all plays out. But thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen of every single day. Continue to tune in as we go through the rest of the offseason and as I continue to build what hopefully will be the Red Sox ideal roster going into the season. Make sure you subscribe and follow so you get all of the latest episodes. You can follow me on Twitter at Gabby Maljanian, follow the show on Twitter at LO_Red Sox, or follow me on Instagram at Gabby_Maljanian10. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Make sure to get Locked On Red Sox ad-free, plus a members-only Discord channel and more. Just head to LockedOnRedSox.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. So make sure that you check that out. And as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.